Plaquemine Parish Council, May the 11th, 2023. Meeting is now called to order at 4:44 p.m. We'll have roll call. Let the record reflect that all 9 council members are present. We'll move to item 2, please.
There are no matters for executive session. Item number 3, proclamations, there are none. Item number 4, status report by the parish president.
Mr. President.
Just a couple of things. This coming Tuesday, the 16th, it is Plaquemine's Day in Baton Rouge. I would hope that we see all 9 members and all your staff, and like I said, the Cornerstone as well now. Okay. I have a meeting that day with Senator Elaine, who is the chairman of the Capital Outlay. So in between now and then, I've got the list that was turned in from October. We've kind of increased some funding. You know, there was the EOC was on there. We had like $700,000 or $800,000 to build it, but when the prices came back in, it was $2 million. So things like that right there, we've increased the ask on different items. So I believe we shared that with you, but if not, let me know. We'll get that list to you, and if there's something that you want to put on that list, get it to me tomorrow or Monday, and that way, as I'm sitting down with them. Also, I'm going to be setting up meetings with Senator Carter and Ms. Hewitt as well to do the same thing, get with either them or their staff. Regional planning, this was my 5th month sitting there, and as I've just kind of sit back and just kind of observe. And as I've been observing, Plaquemines Parish is nowhere on any of the projects that we're amending or moving forward with and all. So I've got a meeting set up in the near future with them. Mark, you and Carlton, I'd like for you guys to be able to attend that as soon as we know the date of it, so that we can sit down and get the lay of the land and know what direction we want to go into. Because like I said, I know Councilman Champagne, there are a lot of different programs that we can use, and there's programs that you can use to your advantage as well. Because years ago, Abear Boulevard right here was horrible, but we found a way to create a bike path on that road. So at that point, we were able to redo the whole road just because we were able to utilize it it ended up on that Mississippi River Trails type situation. So those are the things that we need to get together and look at and take advantage of regional planning there. The shrimp letter to test the imported shrimp, it went out to the governor. So we voted on, I guess we passed that resolution at the last council meeting there. We've met with the grant writers, Lisa, it's Bordelon and Foreman, okay? So they've kind of guided us through a process right here. We are going to, I guess as grants goes, you have to have an action plan. Because when you come and approach and to try to go for these grants, there needs to be an action plan. So what we're doing is we're going to get with Bordelon and Foreman, and we're going to create this action plan so that now in the future, you know, there's safe streets, roads, lighting, bicycle lanes, highway safety. Again, you take those situations and you use it to your advantage as far as you can tweak it, and there's other grants that can feed off of these items right here. So right now, those are some of the items that I want to just kind of give a report on. I'm going to let Jeff discuss, because we've got the administrative order there that we're working on as well. And then if you have any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Infomark has been working to check off some of these remedial actions, especially the ones that have a short date as far as requiring a response. Number 4, we've hired a contractor to install new handrails, and that work will begin shortly. Number 5, the remedial action number 5 requires a plan to lower disinfectant byproducts. That plan has been developed, just waiting on engineering approval. Number 6, Infomark has done the required capacity assessment with LDH about 2 weeks ago on April 27th. But the most pressing are actions 1, 2, and 3, which were required to have generators and backup generators at 3 of the facilities. And as soon as we get those numbers together, we'll need you gentlemen and lady to appropriate some money for some generators required by LDH. Thank you.
Let me say that Mr. Wishers, Billy's not here today because he is in Port Sulphur. There was an oil leak detected, I guess, behind the community center in Port Sulphur. It's nothing major. They can never find where the oil was coming from, but it has dissipated. So wherever it was coming from, it's over with right now. So, but the Coast Guard and Billy are out there taking care of that as we speak right there. It should be over with. Later on, there's going to be an ask for a suspension of the rules for a resolution to consider a CEA with a group because they're having a 2-sack challenge this weekend in Port Sulphur. So we'd ask that you would give that some serious consideration. A lot of effort's been put into it, but the lack of effort for getting a CEA here. So we need that so that they can have their event this weekend there. So, all right. Thank y'all.
Any comments from the audience? Table? Dr. Gouy?
Mr. President, the capital outlay, when you're there, you may already know, but I think we all would like to know the status of Peters Road Highway bypass.
Okay.
Where is it on the rankings and,
Okay. Well, I'll find that answer out for you Tuesday because it is on our list.
good. God, I can't read my handwriting, Keith.
I did have a lunch this week with Cynthia Lee Jane, president from Jefferson Parish, and also with Congressman Scalise, and we were able to touch on that. Also, the fact that we want to extend the bypass road, and also the train, the rail replacement. Just wanted to ask her opinion of it, and she's very much in support of it right there. So that way, we will have a good partner with that those 2 projects in the future.
Toward end, the regular meetings have been held with all of the stakeholders in regards to that.
Right.
Because without that, there is no container port. And that's a very tricky thing because of, well, the money, of course, obtaining the right-of-ways, the politics of it, and the funding of it. And I know you and Charles meet regularly, but it's critical for our BCO to know that it's going to be there. Otherwise, it's not feasible from a business plan perspective.
Okay.
The other thing is, when you talk about the capital outlay, maybe going back, remember we passed the master plan when we were on the council?
Right.
There's a parish master plan. It's probably, you get the dust off of it and
Oh,
stuff.
we have, and
Yeah,
it's
and
quite old right
there may
now.
be some
And I'm
stuff-
listening to you guys just for the port here, just appropriate some funds for phase 1 or phase 1, 2, and 3. And at the end of the day, that's $500,000 right there. So that's something that we're all going to have to sit down and consider here. And maybe, when we come to budget time, we can maybe appropriate some monies to start moving in that direction right there. Because a lot has changed since, I think the one that we did was 2010.
Probably.
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah.
But there may be something there that would give you what you need for your grant writer.
Right.
They always say, well, I want something ready to go, and that.
I have it sitting on my desk.
It's been in a lot of ink and paper.
Right.
Find the right stuff.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Jurchich?
Yes, Mr. President, about Highway 11, can we get a bike path on that designated? Can we move along with that?
Hey, you know what? Like my motto when I go into meetings, I ask. So believe me, I've asked for more stuff in the last 5 months than I have in my entire life, I feel.
Mr. Konovich?
Just wanted to update you, the state, MAC introduced a legislation for the state backing us to put the fort into the national park. Came out of committee and it'll go to the floor. Didn't have any objections against it.
Okay.
And
Very good.
Well, that's good to know. Then we need to work on the other side, and let's get that moving forward there. Okay. Along with the bike path there.
And Senator Connick already told me he'll give us $100,000 towards the fort also.
Good. Good. All right.
Reverend Everett?
Yes. First of all, Mr. President, I really want to thank you for the amount of support you and your directors have been giving to District 1. You mentioned this action plan. So this is not a master plan. This is a plan that you're putting together with the administration?
Right.
Okay.
But it goes along. Here's what needs to be done. We also met with Ms. Hollis, Diane Hollis. She's with the state, who also works towards grant opportunities as well. She doesn't write the grants, but she can point us in a direction of grants. And what she's asked, and what we need to do is we need to come together as a whole body here when we're asking for these grants, so that, you know, when you're asking for something, and I don't know that you're asking for something, because sometimes things like that could disqualify you, because if you've got two different parties coming in from two different directions, they kind of question, you know, where's the you know, the continuity here of the, you know, of the government and the parish here. So we need to get together and get our wants and our needs in our districts here, so that we can categorize and prioritize what directions that we want to go for grant opportunities.
You mentioned Burlone, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, and Foreman.
Foreman.
Yeah, who is that?
I know it's Lisa Foreman is who we met yesterday. They have done things for the parish for probably the last 15 years or so.
In a contractual relationship?
I'm sorry?
Within a contractual relationship?
Well, we're going to be signing a contract. We're going to move forward with that so that they can get this action plan going, so that, and they have written grants for us through what's HGA, which is a contract that the state has with HGA regards to Plaquemines Parish. The state signed a contract with HGA, and they are assigned to Plaquemines Parish. So we've had the opportunity, and they're not so much grant writers either, but as more of grant administrators. So they've been able to help Ms. Dove, Paula Dove, through the process, and Ms. Hilda a lot in the past.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
could you elaborate on what did you find, or what are we considering on giving our employees a pay increase?
After the last meeting, you know, I welcome the challenge and the opportunity to give our parish employees a raise. I wanted to do a $15 minimum. As it turned out, it would have been too much. It would have been more monies than we would be, the way we feel as far as the way sales tax revenues are coming in. We feel that with what's going to be coming in the future for the rollover, it came up to about $12.87 an hour can be our starting salary, which brings it up from $8 to $12 plus. So when rollover comes around, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk, and then that way we'll be able to move forward with that type of raise. Now, what happens is when it, you know, as these studies and the numbers that they all talk, when you move down, it goes up, and if you move up, it goes down, and so forth and so on. So what happens, you take the whole employee, every employee in the parish, you move everyone down, so it elevates all of their salaries to another level. It might be, what is it, like steps that's what you call it? So if we move down 4 steps, every employee in parish government would move 4 steps to elevate their salaries. So we're going to wait till after the rollover. We'll be able to see the funds, what the monies are, and it comes to about $1.6 million that would be added. And we really feel that that's doable right there. And that will be doable on an annual basis right now based on the track record that what we see on the revenues that we see coming into the parish as well.
I just wanted to let the employees know that we are working on that.
Oh, no. Hey, look, we started that Thursday meeting, we started Friday morning on it.
Thank
So,
you.
Good.
Reverend Edwards?
On the pay raise, I'm wondering, can we revisit that and look at whether in all employees, there's a certain amount of employees who are essential employees, like tractor drivers, who down. So when you mix them in with everybody else, they're at a disadvantage. I think we need to look at, because even with this other report, I can't remember the name, Ultra study, a lot of employees felt that it only benefit those people who had been with the parish a long time and was high paying people. They benefit more than them. So is there a way where we can looking at those people? Because I really think $12 an hour, we're not cutting the mustard with people. We have a lot of people making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, and you got the essential employee who we need to cut the grass and to clean the sewage and all the things that they're making $12 an hour. I just think that's a shame. We got to figure out a way to get those people, to me, at least at $15, we're going to be serious, because we're losing them. They're depressed. They're disgusted about the fact that we're paying X amount of people $70,000, $80,000. And what they're saying is, if you work for Plaquemine Parish, you don't have to work hard because you work in the office. So they're saying that they're out there slaving hard and they're getting a less pay, and they're putting more demands on them to do the work, and they're not getting a raise. I think to be paying any of our employees under $15 an hour right now, is sad. And I'm just saying, and they feel that way, that they're not being recognized. So I don't know what it takes to do it. I don't know if we need to change our system and put some people as non-classified so we can raise them where we need to. But I hope that some kind of way we'll take the all out, because for all they get, I still think it's a disadvantage for those people. I think those people already making over $60,000, they shouldn't be in the all. That's my personal thing. And look at those people not making that kind of money and put them in the all, because you put them at this, they will never get to where they, and I'm telling you, they're depressed, they're disgusted, and we're going to lose a lot of them.
I can agree with you, okay? But there's a lot of variables here, and there's a lot of rules and regulations when you're dealing with government and civil service here. And to take and move certain positions out of civil service and create them unclassified, that's going to be probably not possible right there. But look, we can explore, because there's exceptions. Because even when we move some of these positions, I mean, there's like the AC people in the maintenance area right there. We can't get plumbers for the prices. Even when we go down 4 steps, it's still too low. It's just like I said before. Years ago, when Dr. Gouy and I were on the council, we pushed the yes button for a pay raise, and it was right then it was too low. Then in the last council, hit a pay raise, still too low. If we can get this one right here, it'll still be too low. But at least we're doing something, and we're trying to move forward right here in the right direction. So, but we can explore what you're talking about. I'll never tell you no, okay? But at the end of the day, if we can do it, we can do it. And if we can't, we just have to say we've tried.
Well, even if you don't reclassify them, I think there should be a category of people that should be excluded.
And here's another thing that's a challenge too, is when you want to take and reclassify someone, there's processes and things that they have to go through and have to qualify for before you can take and reclassify them.
I'm with you on that, because I talked to civil service about that, and the civil director she really educated me on understanding it. So we got to do something. Only thing I'm saying, when you lump the all in, those people who making $12 an hour now, people told me in the Archer study did not help them. It did not. So I don't know if we need to do it all. I'm just saying we might have to look at, and if people say, well, you're discriminating because you get some more than you take all, but those people making $12 said the Archer study to discriminate again. I'm just talking about when I'm hearing from people in the field.
Okay.
Ms. McCarthy?
I'd like to thank Keith Hinckley and John Helmers for continuing to keep that electronic sign in Fort St. Leon North. For the people who don't do social media, we continue to update the latest messages that come through from Plannery. Thank you for keeping that over there.
And the residents in that community need to know that that sign is that's informational for them and their community right there. So we are really trying to be on top of informing them right there. So
They're
you're
the most
welcome.
affected. Thank you.
And I know y'all probably don't hear it often enough, but we truly do appreciate the progress that we are making in Plaquemine Parish. It's easier to see. It's easy, and everyone is talking about it. We'll move to the next item, please.
4A, update by charter directors.
We just did it.
5, bids and advertisements. There are none. 6, beer and liquor licenses.
Is there any queue in, please? Mr. Juricic?
Yes. Yes, I have one. This one will be for the Empire South Pass Tarpon Rodeo. Mailing address 31431 Highway 11, Buras, Louisiana 70041. It'll be held at the Empire Safe Harbor. The P.O. Box is P.O. Box 63, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. And that's all I have. I'll offer.
We have a motion by Mr. Juricic,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the table? Machines is open.
It seemed like I had one, but I don't see it here.
Well, if you find it, we can come back.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for. I think I had one. And,
Please vote.
yeah, pass it
Please
over.
vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And the measure passes unanimously, 9-0. Next item, please.
7, building permits. 7A, construction permits.
We'll take 1 and 2 in global.
Breck Falcon, application number 2023-250, application date 4/13/23, building a dock on existing pilings, 595 Grand Bayou Way, Port Sulphur, Councilmember LaFrance. Kinder Morgan, application number 2022-735, application date 8/5/22, dredge line lowering of 36-inch and 30-inch pipeline, install new platform and bulkhead, half-mile off Mardi Gras Pass, Councilmember Edwards.
I so offered. Seconded by Mr. Juricic. Any comments from the audience? Table? Machines are open. And the measure passes 8-4, 1 abstention. We'll take item B, C, and D in global.
E is for new RV park. The other 3 are for
Yeah, we still can take in global.
all the way to
B, oh, sorry.
They'll take E by itself. Yeah.
Still do it together.
B, Potash Holdings LLC, final approval for a new RV trailer park, 26534 Port Sulphur River Road, Port Sulphur, Louisiana, Councilmember LaFrance. Min Nguyen Trailer Park, Van Tran Trailer Park Renewal, 164 Elizabeth Lane, Empire, Louisiana, Councilmember Juricic. Cajun Oaks T&L Land Ventures LLC, RV Trailer Park Renewal, Joy Lane, Bellchase, Louisiana, Councilmember Juricic.
We have a motion by Mr. Juricic. I'll second it. Any comments from the audience? Table? Machines open. Reverend Edwards?
I'm sorry.
And the measure passes unanimously, 9-0. Next item, please.
E, Bellchase Middle School Dance Team, Celeste Taylor, application for gaming permit for ballet slipper raffle to be held May 15th through May 19th, 2023. Councilmember Juricic.
We have a motion by Mr. Jurdich. Seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Any comments from the audience? Table? Machines are open. The measure passes 9-0. Next item, please.
Item number 8, introductions to ordinances and resolutions. We had several. The following are for Councilmember LaFrance: a resolution to approve or reject industrial tax exemption application number 201-80047-ITE for applicant Stolthaven New Orleans LLC for participation in the industrial tax exemption program and their expansion project in the parish. A resolution designating the fiscal agent of the parish of Plaquemines for the period commencing June 1st, 2023 and ending May 31st, 2025. An ordinance to amend the 2023 operating revenue and expenditure budgets to accept a donation from Infomark LLC for Plaquemines Parish Day at the Louisiana Legislature and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2023 manpower structure and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The following is for Councilmember Champagne. An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of Lot 1A, Parks of Plaquemines, Section 2, Township 14S, Range 24E, Southeastern District of Louisiana, west of the Mississippi River, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into lots 1B and 2B, Parks of Plaquemines, Section 2, Township 14S, Range 24E, Southeastern District of Louisiana, west of the Mississippi River, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the plat and plan of survey by Dufresne Surveying and Engineering, Inc., dated March 27th, 2023, the owners having fulfilled the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The following are for Councilmember Schultz. An ordinance directing the Plaquemines Parish Government Finance Department on the appropriation and the annual rollover funds and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the parish president to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement between Louisiana Young Artists and Young Authors, and further authorizing the president to sign on behalf of Plaquemines Parish government any and all documents necessary and proper to perfect or enforce this agreement and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2023 manpower structure and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The next one is for Councilmember McCarty. An ordinance to amend the 2023 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Parish Council District 5 Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The next one is for Councilmember Newsom. A resolution to appoint a replacement member as the District 6 representative of the Plaquemines Parish Zoning and Planning Development Board, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. This one is for Councilmember Jurisic, an ordinance to amend the 2023 operating revenue and expenditure budgets to accept a donation from the Empire South Pass Tarpon Rodeo and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And the following two are for Councilmember Konovich, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan, sewer repairs, Buras to Boothville project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And an ordinance authorizing the parish president or his designee to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate, sign, and execute a lease on Lot D and E in the Venice Boat Harbor with the winning bidder for use as a seafood dock for the commercial shrimpers and fishermen, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That is it.
Thank you.
9, ordinances and resolutions on second reading and final passage. 9A, ordinances and public hearings pursuant to Article 6, Section 601E of the Plaquemines Parish Charter. 1, an ordinance to amend Chapter 19 of the Parish Code of Ordinances by enacting Article 7 titled Public Right-of-Way and Public Land Excavation Permit, establishing the rules, regulation, fees, and penalties regarding the permitting of excavation activities on public right-of-way and public lands in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz.
And we have changes. On item 8, let's see, that's section 19201, number 8. It shall now read that the applicant agrees to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the Plaquemines Parish government,
Which one is this?
9A1.
Okay.
And then on section 15, it may not be the same line number, but I have line number 185. It's, if the project's not completed after 3 years instead of 5 years from the date of issuance. On section 17, after pipelines on state highways, the following language has been added. Further, all applicants must notify the Department of Engineering and Public Works, the parish water and sewer contractor, presently Infomark, and the department 72 hours before the commencement of any work. All inspection requests should be made 72 hours before the inspection date. In section 19-202, the fees are as follows. Public utility commercial fees, permit fee is $1,000. Administration fee is $500. Inspection fee is $1,000 minimum plus any actual cost thereafter. Final inspection and closeout fee is $500. For non-public utility commercial/developer fees, the permit fee is $100, administration fee $50, inspection fee $100 minimum plus any actual cost thereafter. Final inspection and closeout fee is $50. Residential fees, the permit fee is $5, administration fee is $25, the inspection fee is $50 minimum plus any cost thereafter, and the final inspection and closeout fee is $25. Directly below that, B, will now, let's see, we are removing, the applicant will be, we are removing the, will be required to pay. So it shall read now, the applicant shall pay all fees required by this section at the time of application. Then the language that was in there, deposit to be applied to the costs listed above, any balance to be returned after the final inspection has been taken out. And the new sentence is, if actual inspection costs exceed the minimum fee amount, then the remaining balance shall be paid prior to the release of the permit. And that is all the changes.
Can you verify line 253 what the permit fee is? You s-
$50.
Okay, you said 5.
Oh, I'm
That's why I
sorry.
just want to make sure our
It's
copy's
a lot
correct.
to read.
I know. Sorry.
Okay.
One other thing, I'd like to, on section 17, change the word must to shall. I would like that to be part of the offer with changes.
It's 17?
Section 17.
Section 17, line 202. It's part of the, it's part of what's being amended already. Further, all applicants, it said must notify the department. I'd like to use the word shall. And that's my error. I should have used shall in the first place, but.
Offer with changes.
We have a motion by Mr. Schultz
Second.
to offer it but with changes,
Second.
seconded by Ms. McCarty. Any comments from the audience?
Chris, could you explain to the public about this, man? Because this
It's
gonna hit them, man.
Okay, so
Could you please state your name?
Arthur Henry. Mr. Bell Chase.
So where this came from, about 2 months ago, I think it was Cox Cable was doing digging along the highway and hit a water main and caused a lot of damage and everything. So researching it, we didn't have anything on the books. Basically, they can come in and dig along the right of way without the parish really having any say so. This is to know who is in our parish, what they're doing, collecting the proper permits that we should have been collecting this whole time, but it's just never been done. So this is to better get a handle on our right-of-ways in our parish and where we know who's in our parish doing what.
So, I'm still
Hold
trying
on.
to understand, I'm sorry.
Hold on. Ms. McCarty?
When will this take effect, and do you know if it will apply to the bridge construction? No? Okay.
Effect after he signs it.
Yeah, I would say no to that right there.
Okay.
Those permits are already been issued and
Okay.
No retroactive. Mr. Jurich?
Yes, this is very necessary because we've seen a lot of these companies come in and dig along our right-of-ways, and we're having to go back and backfill what they've dug up because they're not completing the job. They're leaving holes. We have some massive areas with big old deep holes where these contractors have come in and fixed the problem but walked away but left us a mess. Thanks, Chris.
Mr. Newsom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How did we come about the fees?
So, am I on?
Could we make all of them
Okay,
live?
so thank you, Rennie, for getting this together. And this is in conjunction with the engineering department with looking at other parishes and what they do and what the state charges and all that. So it's been legal, engineering, everybody, and try and get, that's why there were so many changes, because we didn't know exactly what we wanted at the time. So.
Reverend Edwards?
And that was going to be my question, because I was confused about what Mr. Hendry saying it's going to hit people hard. I don't see how this hitting the public at all hard. And so my question is, these fees are this, we had these fees on people before, or this is something we're doing for the very first time?
So it won't really hit residents that hard because they're not normally digging on our right of ways. So it's more private companies coming in, and no, we have not had fees before. It's just basically in certain situations, they have to come, depending on how close they are to the levee, have to come for a no objection, I think, letter, and that's about it. But so we're trying to see their plans and make sure we're doing things right.
Good.
Dr. Gui?
So, and I'll direct this to Rennie. Is this, if they're doing an excavation somewhere, or they're doing multiple excavations, the fee is for the job, whether it's one site or 5 sites or 6 sites, or is it for each specific site that they have a permit fee?
We're doing it by the job, and that's why the inspection fee is variable. So if the job is, we're laying, 3 miles of cable, it'll be one permit fee because it's one project. However, that inspection may require, inspections at 20 different locations along those 3 miles. And so that's why we put a minimum in here, and then if we go above that minimum, we'll charge actual cost, because that's where the parish actual cost is.
Thank you.
Mr. Champagne?
Yeah, maybe Mr. Schultz can answer this, but I don't see a requirement for any of the contractors to do an LA1 call, which is required generally by contractors to do any type of excavation, where the state comes in and marks the right of way to prevent them from actually striking the right of way. I'm looking through here and don't see it. Maybe I miss it.
Rennie, you may be answer, but isn't that state law that they're required to anyway?
Yeah, it's in there. Let me look for it, but I remember.
In here so it's clear.
I remember reading that.
I think maybe section 20, is that covering that law? Basically it's saying that this, Yeah, I think section 20 is where it's saying that they still have.
Right, yeah, nothing contained herein shall be deemed to relieve the applicant from complying with any and all applicable laws, rules, regulations, and ordinances, including but not limited to the Louisiana Damage Prevention Law, which I think it requires that. There's also other clauses in here that basically say that as well. And not only that, the engineering department, through this ordinance, is empowered to adopt policies that are actually more rigorous than DOTD if they would like. And so that would be presumably also part of our policies. But Councilmember Schultz is right. Paragraph 20 covers that as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any more comments from the table?
Yeah,
Reverend Edwards?
I was looking at section, I think it's 19, and it's saying, why are borrower pits not included in this article?
But borough pits aren't included in the ordinance because they're not excavating on generally public lands or public rights of way anyway. And we just didn't want any confusion because there is a long ordinance that applies specifically to borough pits. And so they will follow those processes and procedures in that ordinance and not this ordinance. But I can tell you, if a borough pit submits an application under the borough pit ordinance and it some way impacts our public right-of-ways or our public lands, that would be addressed through that process.
Thank you.
Any more comments from the table? Machines open. And the measure passes unanimously, 9-0.
B, a resolution giving preliminary approval to the issuance of not to exceed dollars of hurricane recovery revenue notes of the parish of Plaquemines, state of Louisiana, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Councilmember LaFrance.
We have
changes.
We have changes.
We're deferring that.
C will be deferred. D, an ordinance to amend the 2023 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget Recreation Day and Summer Recreation Program Department and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Edwards.
And we still have the changes pending. Would you like me to read the changes?
Yes.
Okay. So we're amending the general fund operating revenue and expenditure budgets with the S on the end. That same change, no, it's not. And then on the first whereas, we're removing the word funding and adding reimbursements from the Pointe-a-la-Hache Volunteer Fire Department. The second whereas, we are adding operating revenue and expenditure budgets with a S on the end. There is a new section 2 that reads as follows. The 2023 revenue budget is hereby amended as follows. It's being put into the general fund revenue budget, line item number 491.205, reimbursements general. It's being increased by $22,938, and then the old section 2 has now become section 3. That is it.
I'll offer it.
We have a motion by Reverend Edwards, offer the ordinance with changes. Seconded by Dr. Gouy. Any comments from the audience?
I heard that that's the money from the fire department. I just want y'all to keep this in consideration. The fire department losing 3 individuals that was working in that program. We was non-paid, so the new group that's gonna take over, they probably get paid, so they're gonna need that money. So consider that 3 or 4 individuals was non-payable. That's why we was able to have a less account than that normal. This one I have other people that gonna have to get paid, so I say give them the money.
Any more comments from the audience? from the table. Mr. Newsom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We spoke at length on the last meeting at this. Do we have a CEA in place for this?
No, sir. Presently, we do not.
Well, I thought we were going to get a CEA in place before we brought this back up.
No one's I don't know the organization. No one's contacted my office to initiate a CEA. So there's been nothing for me to do.
Thank you.
I'll respond to that. We're working on that, and matter of fact, we was considering whether we want to come in and ask for this money. Because we're saying that we give the YMCA $200,000, and they didn't have to tell us how we spent the money. And here's something that we're still trying to figure out, getting our staff together to really do it. So at this point, we don't even know if we don't want to really deal with it, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
No.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Well, after the last council meeting, it did bring up, brought a lot of attention to the different CEAs and organizations that we do not grant monies, but do give monies to throughout the parish. So basically what this has done, it's brought attention to all of those organizations, and that we will have CEAs with all of them, and we will know the funding, where the monies go, because through auditing and through the finance department, the future's different, and we will know how those monies are going to be spent. Because we don't want them just to be able to go out and buy a helicopter.
Mr. Newsom.
I've spoke already.
Mr. Schultz.
So, I agree with you on that, Mr. President, and Mr. Edwards, that we do need to hold everybody accountable. And that changed when we found that out. That did change my view some. And Mr. Brock, thank you for explaining that about the 3 volunteers, because I was looking at the 4 years prior to the last time it was done, and the average expenditures was $20,000, basically $21,000, and there's $25,000 currently in the budget. And that was my main concern: is why are we doubling the budget for this program? But that does answer some questions, so I'm more open to it now. That was my main concern, was why are we doubling the budget compared to what it used to cost? And again, it's a different organization, so I understand that, but I just want to know a little bit more what's going on with the cost. I yield.
Mr. Champagne.
Yeah, I urge my colleague, Reverend Edwards, don't stop with this. We want this to happen. We want the CA for the protection of you and that organization. Don't stop. It's going to happen. Let's get this in place. Rennie, I don't see what we need, on your end from the legal department. I think that's something we can make happen quickly as soon as this organization presents a CA. So we got time. I don't think that we should let this go to waste. It's a very good program. Let's just get it done right. We're going to change things. Like I said, you brought up some very good points. As Councilman Schultz said, we're going to make corrections. Everyone's going to have to be on the same playbook. But I don't want you to stop doing this. We need to get this program going. So whatever it takes, I'll back it. You got my support. We just need to get that CEA. I yield.
Mr. Schultz.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
I'd like to follow up and agree with Councilman Champagne there, Reverend Edwards. Let's move forward. We can get this CEA done, and let's just go forward with this.
And I just want to say one more thing about the prior agreements. There is a clause in those CEAs that they can be audited at any time, and they're required to keep records for upwards of 5 years. So should the council ever want to exercise its audit authority, it can do so.
So what I was going to say was I agree with Mr. Champagne. We do need to move forward. I think at the previous meeting, you said that the expenses will come through the finance department and we'll cut the check. Correct, Mr. Edwards? So I'm okay with that based on the CEA and everything. And like we said, going forward, I understand the audit clauses in there, but we really need to know what they're using with our money, not just going into their per se general fund and can use it for anything. That goes for the Y, that goes for the care center. I think we all need to know what's going on with our money. It's parish money, it's people's money. So I agree, we kind of need to use, since it's going to come through the finance department and all that, we'll have a CEA in place. I'm more comfortable after Mr. Brock explained why theirs was so low and all that. I'm a little bit more comfortable now with what's going on.
Mr. Newsom?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Only issues, like I said, we all spoke on it. We just want to be stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. These are taxpayers' dollars. Everyone pretty much sitting in this room is a taxpayer. We need to really look, and if it's through the Y, I'm not opposed to doing that. But again, we talked about counselors for this group. Do we even, it sounds like they're going to be paid counselors to me, from listening to the conversation. What are we paying these counselors? What are their hours? You know, I am looking at this going into this blind, and I don't like appropriating, being stewards of taxpayer money, going into anything blind without knowing the details. With that, I yield.
Ms. Turner?
Good evening. I'm Darrell Demal Turner, 108 Thomas Lane, Phoenix, Louisiana. Just to shed light on this program, we have ran a summer camp program for the last 15 years. We have never asked the parish for $1 as far as the private organization that's going to be helping with this program. I do know Mr. Bartholomew ran the program, and the council gave him money every single year for that program. We are hiring college-age students to run the program, to actually work at the program. It will be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're going to hire 4 college students to actually work the program. We have 35 kids that we know of for sure that will be attending the program. And it will be a weekly theme that we do every week with this program. It could be government, it could be arts and craft. We really haven't set up an actual curriculum yet, but it is being put in place.
Any comments from the table? Mr. Newsom?
I'll comment. So would the curriculum be part of the CEA agreement?
Both.
Let me just say, Darrell, I appreciate you coming, but I'm at the point, I don't think we need to discuss this
Yes, we do.
any farther
Yes, we
than
do,
this.
because I don't want nobody to think
But
we're
let me
trying to
just say
spend any
this,
money any kind
because
of way.
there's some people saw this the last time, companies who thought it was a shame that we have to give every line item. I'm for not even worrying about the money. Really, I'm serious. So I appreciate you coming, but I'm at the point, I don't think we need to give every hour what we going to do around the clock. I don't even think that's necessary. I don't want to go to it. And I'm at the point, let the parish keep it. Mr. Newsom can use it in this, anybody else want to use it, but I'm not going to subject us to this because it's a totally different program and I'm not for it. So I appreciate you coming, and I know you well, and I know your intent to trying to plan, but I'm at the point, I don't think we need to have any more explanation. Everybody in the community I talk to say, look, if we got to raise fundraiser, we'll do it, but we're not going to put ourselves in a position of begging. And to me, this is begging, and I'm not begging. So I thank you, but please, I don't think we need to discuss it anymore. That's my position.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question.
I object to that question. I have a comment that was addressed to me.
And I'm unapologetic in my statement.
Last time, we called for the question. You can't-
Call for question.
Ask for a vote.
Call for question.
No, you don't.
We got to give him we got to agree for him to do it.
No, when he calls a question.
Call for question.
Calls a question, but he could appeal a question.
Well, why didn't you say that when I was called for the question?
Please, let's keep it ordered. I have a question on the floor.
So if someone calls the question, if there is no objection, then the question is called and you move on to the vote. If someone objects to calling the question, you have to vote on the calling of the question, and that is non-debatable.
Is there any question?
We did that.
Does anyone object from the question being called?
Yes, I'd like to speak again.
Dr. Gould, withdraw it.
You know, I'm not, I guess I'm getting point out. What I am, as a council member, January 1st of 2023, I look at everything. It was a different game whenever back in the day, we are in a position of this government of spending our money. We need to look at everything, whether it be whatever, from every aspect of it. And that's what I'm here to do. My constituents elected me to do that, use our money wisely. And again, I'm not saying that this is not, I'd like to get the ducks in a row, get the proper paperwork done, and let's move forward. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not, whatever it is. But when we give money out, we should have CEAs in place. It's just that simple. For me to support this, I would like to have a CEA. That's all. Thank you.
Question has been called for. Any objection?
I want to ask one question really quick.
I withdraw.
One question. Rennie, we can get the CEA in place before the program starts, correct? Before we cut a check or anything?
Yes, it's my understanding that was the intention before any checks are cut to this particular organization, a CEA will be in place.
Thank you.
And I think you said that at the last meeting, right? At the last meeting, you expressed just what you did, that it was our understanding that we wouldn't do nothing, that anything we did, we was going through the parish to make sure it was up and up, and that we wouldn't actually request a check if we didn't come justify it. I thought we said that at the last meeting.
That's
Okay,
correct.
I'm very clear on that.
Yeah, and I'm not, and I don't think I said anything contrary to that.
No, I just want to make sure that you actually said that the last
Yeah,
time.
no, I did say that.
And obviously, Mr. Newsom missed it, because if he heard that, we wouldn't be where we are today on it. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, what I heard was that we were going to get a CEA in place. That was 2 weeks ago. That's what I heard. We were going to have a CEA in place. I don't know if anybody else heard that, but that's what I heard.
It's the council's prerogative whether or not the CEA happens at the time of vote or whether or not it leaves it up to the administration to do the CEA after the vote. I mean, we can do it either way.
Can I speak?
Okay, question has been called for by Dr. Goey. Any objection? We'll move to question. The machines are open. And the measure passes 8-4, 1 abstention. We'll move to the next item, please.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan repairs Point LaHash Telecom Tower project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Edwards.
For nobody had talked to me about that, so I don't know what that is.
F, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan repairs Woodlawn Brathwaite Fire Stations project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Edwards.
Move.
We have a motion by Reverend Edwards. Do we have a second? Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the audience?
Yeah, Clarence Block, Phoenix, Louisiana, 156 crossover land. I didn't do it the first time, but I got it this time. Woodlawn Fire Department, they need the building. Because Katrina came destroyed Point LaHash fire station, and we never complained, not at all. Because all through the parish, when I go to one of the fire stations, I'm the fire chief down in Point LaHash. I go to the fire station in any one of the districts. When I get to the building, I got to call somebody inside to tell me how to get to that's how big the buildings are, how to get to the meeting room. They're huge. Every last one of the buildings. Down in Point LaHash, the station was destroyed, and we got a substation. Same thing with the same size, the substation in Belchase. Woodlawn, hurricane, forgot what hurricane it was, destroyed their station, and they're not in it yet, and that's a shame. We depend on Woodlawn because a lot of Point LaHash firemen got up in the age and they can't do what they used to do, and some of them is deceased. So we depend on Woodlawn a lot, and they don't have a fire station, not yet, and they deserve one. It's like Point LaHash need things. We don't complain. The fire trucks that we got one new truck, and we got a good paint job on some hand-me-down trucks, and we got a truck with a busted tank. We accept it, never heard no complaints from us. So we need Woodlawn. Woodlawn got some nice trucks, some good trucks, and we need them. They work with us pretty good. So whatever we need for a fire station to go by Woodlawn, we got to do it. We got to make it happen.
Oh, go ahead. Come on. Oh, hey, Chief. Arthur Henry, Bell Chase. Listen, for public safety, you need this fire station. The sales tax revenue have increases, so you can pretty much afford to get it for them. Thank you.
Jonathan Butcher, Superintendent of Fire, Plaquemines Parish. I'm not against a fire station. We need a fire station. I've spoke to everybody, but we have plans for this. What this is a blanket amount. I don't think that we should get into the business of saying, give me $2 million. I have to be responsible for that money. Y'all got to know what it's going for. When I come to y'all and say, hey, I need $3 million, I get questions. What are we buying? What's it for, right? Let me tell you where we're at with this in this planning stage. We've had an architect come out. They looked at both buildings. That was at the last council meeting that Thursday. Tuesday, I believe it was, we met with engineering. We have a contract. A contractor, or the architect, is coming out again, and we're working on his contract for a do not exceed, where they're going to look at everything. What's wrong with it? Is the building stable? The roof? And then we can get a contract to say how much money. So my thing is, we have buildings after Katrina that were built, and look, we know what happened with some of these buildings in the parish. I have a fire station in every single district that needs repairs. What I'm asking for y'all to do is, I'm not against the $2 million. Let's use it wisely. If the Woodlawn Station we can go to and say, hey, we only need $700,000, let's use $700,000 and get it fixed. The Bell Chase Engineers Road Station, exact same thing, in a trailer. If we can get it fixed for $500,000, now we're at $1.2 million. If we can get the station down road in Port Sulphur fixed for $150,000, okay, we're making progress. So for $2 million to blanket it, and we really don't know what it's going for, let's get some actual figures. And then with $2 million, we may be able to fix most of our stations. So I would respectfully ask if you withdraw it, or, defer it so we can get more realistic numbers. But a blanket number to hold money, if we ever need that money, now we got to come back and do an ordinance again to resend the ordinance. I just don't know that's right. So I respect what we're trying to do here, but we are in a process of building and, moving forward to get it repaired.
I don't think you do.
Okay. Like I said, we've done everything with the substation for you. That's up and running. We had Mr. Allen come and look at the electrical, so we really are trying to move forward, y'all.
How long would it take for you to get those answers?
Well,
they're working on it right now.
Mr. President,
Hey, Reverend.
yeah, the reason I'm saying that you're not being fair, because this is not about $2 million for the Woodlawn Station. Let's be real. I've talked to Schultz. I said we want to make sure that nothing happened to this money, that it could be. I met with Schultz, talked to Patty, and saying, look, we're going to have Mr. DeMarco to go out there and look at the car, and we're not saying that $2 million is just for one. And you know it, because you and I have talked to that. For you to come here and phrase it that way, to me, is disrespectful, because we have talked about this over and over. And I think I told you, Schultz, this is not $2 million for Woodlawn. Well, I want to make sure, because what had happened, when we first met with you, with the parish president, you were supposed to go in there and saying you had your firemen there to work on it, but because you and what's his name? Irvin Truman, y'all don't get along. Let's be real on that. Y'all fighting each other. And I said, whether they've been caught in a disagreement, let's put a freeze on there to making sure that the East Bank fire things out. I've talked to Schultz and said this $2 million is not for Woodlawn. I've never said this $2 million for you, and you know this. So I don't know why you standing here putting it there. I say, look, as a councilman, that's not my land. Let Mr. DeMarco come here. Let him go look at it. So that way, People are not saying these men getting the money. He was saying you only need a certain amount of money to making sure that the area, and so I made that clear. But for you to come here and stand up here like I'm saying that the acting council rescind this because $2 million coming in, and I know personally well, you know that's not what it is. So why are you saying it this way? I take offense to it.
Well, I do apologize if you're taking offense to it. And what I mean by, let me clarify, is we're not going to hold $2 million. If we can fix 5 and 6 fire stations, all I'm asking is for some time to do this. As of Tuesday, I believe that it was, Jonah with engineering got with Mr. DeMarco and myself, and we have this contract from the architects. He asked us to put the building back up for the substation. It's up. We've met your guidelines and your timelines. We're trying everything that we can do.
So if you're in agreement with me, let this process flow its way out, and we wouldn't have no problem, because Mr. DeMarco and Schultz, correct me if I'm wrong, and so we agreed that he will come into it, not me, that he would do it, and making sure that it's just the amount that they need. So why we got to change anything once it's over? He's going to say, and we also say Patty mentioned that she had a place in her fire district. He will look at all of that. So
And I think
don't
that's
know why
what
we need to change it. That's all I'm saying.
I think that's what we're trying to do is let's go ahead and get realistic numbers. We want to move forward with the project, but if for $2 million we can fix 5 and 6 fire stations, why are we just going to allocate $2 million to one? That's all I'm asking.
Mr. Schultz.
Can I say something?
Hold on, Mr. Schultz.
Yes, so we have talked, and I agree with you. Priority number 1 is Woodlawn. Question is, I think it's because the way it's worded, the project, and I agree with you, Mr. Edwards, that you said that you're not wanting the full $2 million for Woodlawn, that you want, but you do want the repairs based on engineering estimates. Can we change the wording, Rennie, to say repairs and put priority 1, 2, 3? Priority 1, or number 1, based on cost, is Woodlawn. Number 2 is Belchase District Station 2. Can we change the wording to make it repairs in the capital outlay, and then that way we're designating $2 million, but it's not just to one station. It will be priority 1 to Woodlawn based on the engineering estimates, the architect estimates. Then priority 2 is station 5 or 2 in Belchase on Engineers Road. Would you be okay with that, Mr.
Yeah,
Butcher?
I'm definitely okay with that.
Mr. Edwards, would you be okay with that? That way it is allocating, and you would have money first priority for your station.
We want to move forward.
That's including the area.
Can we do that, Rennie? I mean, from an accounting standpoint, I don't see a problem with it.
We don't traditionally do things that way just because the budget's keeping track of these projects and these monies, and to the extent they start moving pretty quickly, it can get a little confusing. I think Jonah would probably have to do a whole separate Excel sheet just to keep up with this, but I don't think there's anything in the law that would prohibit you from doing it.
I think everybody will be okay with that, I'm sure, because Patty, I know District 5 has an issue. You have a major issue. I know Jeff has been talking, and you, Jonathan, have been trying to get the estimates. But that way, I think it leaves some of the concern of the money getting allocated to other stuff. That way, we have $2 million allocated to these projects. It's just not assigned yet, and then we can come back and assign it when these estimates come in. But this way, it's tied up in repairs, and it won't get appropriated somewhere else.
So where the confusion would come in would be your prioritization and what you're allowing us to do. So priority 1 would mean we would start with Woodlawn. Does that mean priority 2 can start engineering and design on priority 2, even though we don't know how much we need in the budget, how much we have in the budget to start construction on priority 1?
What I would do is wait to, like, we could put it all in repairs with the priority, and then we get the estimate back for Woodlawn, and then we move that from repairs to the actual project. And then when Station 2 comes in, we move it from the repairs to the actual project.
And I can tell you this, and the architect went there. Woodlawn Station is going to be an easier fix than Belchase Station 2. That is priority. It's always been priority. The accusations of Chief Truel and I not getting along, that's not true. Okay, we may have different opinion, but we do get along and we do like each other. But Woodlawn has always been priority 1, and we want to make it priority 1.
Including the area Breakway that was.
The Braithwaite Station, like I stated before, the Braithwaite Station is up. We're working on the electricity. We had Mr. Allen come out, and we got a punch list of what we need. He did suggest that we hire a contractor, electrician to come do that, but we do have everything. And I'm working with Mr. Wishers to get the area cleaned up.
It's all,
And it's already in the process.
what I'm saying, I don't want to say Woodlawn, it should be Woodlawn Brickway. That's all I'm trying.
Woodlawn Braithwaite, I got you.
That's all.
No, I'm with you. And like I said, we
Fire Chief Butcher, how long will it take for you to get more accurate estimates on both?
That's not really up to me. We waited a week and a half just for this architect to come back, and they have a proposal for a do not exceed, if I'm making the correct terminology, and they're coming in and looking at the whole building. So they have to get structural engineers out, they have to get electricians out, so that's going to kind of be on their timeline. So I really
Are they
couldn't give you
looking
any
at
more.
both buildings at the same time? The one on Engineers Road as well?
I would assume that same time, because with his visit, he did look at both buildings on the exact same day.
Okay, my concern is $2 million enough?
I would like to say so. Reverend Edwards is correct. The fire department was going to try to tackle some of this, and the scope of work is a little bit beyond than what we could do, so it did change the project. I would say we have to wait for the numbers, because I don't want to say yes or no.
One other issue we have is that we cannot legally go out for bid on a project without appropriating the funds we reasonably believe the project will cost. And so that's another reason we keep these projects separate, because we have to make sure that that appropriation alone is going to be enough to cover a project that goes out to bid. So it'd be my recommendation, I understand what you're trying to do, but it'd be my recommendation that we do individual appropriations so that we make sure we don't run afoul of any public bid laws. Now, that's my recommendation. Now, what you could do is you could create smaller pots of money, just enough to get the engineering done, and then we could come back and do an appropriation before we go out to bid. But I just think it gets too wonky and too complicated to do what you're suggesting. And I think the administration would prefer we do individual appropriations.
I would support with what Rennie's saying.
And it's my understanding that, I know this issue is really sensitive right now, I don't know what the fund balance is in the fire department, but we're about to get rollover, and it's my understanding the fire department's probably going to get in excess of $3 million in rollover. And so this issue about money and limited funds right now with their possible fund balance, that conversation will change drastically in the next month or so. So if you want to go ahead and appropriate the $2 million, you can do that, and then we could address the other projects when the rollover happens.
And that was the whole intent of this, because in the past, it got left out. And I just wanted to make sure that they were secure. So I talked to finance. I said, what is the best way that I can ensure? He said, well, you can also appropriate a certain amount of money to make sure it happens. And that's what only my intent, that was my intent from the very beginning. And I was hoping that we can put it right there and we wouldn't have no problem.
And you want to say?
My only problem with appropriating monies like this right here is we're letting the cat out the bag. Okay? We're going to put $2 million into a project. They know there's $2 million out there for this project right here. That's why I would much rather, look, I'm in total favor of it, Reverend. You know that. I mean,
What would you suggest?
what I suggest that you give us time, you get the engineering design cost, and get a budget on the work, on the construction work. And then we appropriate those funds right there.
For both.
For both. It can be in two different directions, but we take care of Braithwaite Woodlawn first, though, okay?
Well, here, that's what I'm saying. So I would defer this. What you're suggesting is let DeMarco go look at what it costs for Woodlawn and Brickway, get that total amount, and then come back and do it. That's what you're suggesting?
That's what I'm suggesting.
And I agree.
Well, I defer it on that.
And I will be 100% support
I
of that.
defer it. I defer it.
Thank you.
And Engineers Road, please.
Deferred. Item F, deferred. Item G, deferred.
So I missed some of your deferral.
H, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, Restore Act multi-year implementation administration plan project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered.
Second.
Seconded by who? Mr. Konovich? Administration?
Mr. Helmers?
John Helmers, Director of Coastal Resources and Protection. This ordinance is for $50,000 of administrative fees that'll be paid through Restore to continue the administration of the Restore monies and the grants with the U.S. Treasury.
Any comments from the audience? From the table? Machines open? We step away. And the measure passes 8-4, and let the record reflect that Dr. Guig stepped away from his seat.
Thank you.
I, a resolution approving and authorizing Rochelle Morel, Comptroller, to execute a Louisiana compliance questionnaire to Calder, Slavin and Company, LLC, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered. Seconded by Mr. Schultz. Administration?
We support the measure.
Any comments from the audience? From the table? Machines are open. And the measure passes 8-0.
J, a resolution declaring June 19th, Juneteenth in the parish of Plaquemines and further declaring Juneteenth an observed reoccurring annual holiday for Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered.
We have changes. On line 18, the whereas will read commemorates the freeing of formerly enslaved African Americans. On line 21, it shall now read Juneteenth also highlights fortitude, artistic and intellectual achievements. On line 26, it shall now read the emancipation of enslaved African descendants. On line 27, after the word continued, the continued work organizing necessary to ensure freedom and economic opportunity for individuals historically denied freedom. On line 39, after the first, be it resolved, they're adding language which states, if Juneteenth is Saturday, then the Juneteenth holiday shall be observed Friday, the day before. And if the Juneteenth holiday is Sunday, and then the Juneteenth holiday shall be observed Monday, the day after. And those are the changes.
I so offer with changes.
Second.
Seconded by Reverend Everts. Any comments from the audience? Where is
Arthur Henry Belchase. Great resolution for the people to be free. Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a unanimous second? Okay, we have a unanimous second. We are waiting for, what's his name? Christian. Where you at, young man?
All right, let me switch it. What is he doing? All right. Hey, Kim.
Hit the square, the X
Hey,
on the
Kim.
screen, Kim. Look at the screen,
Unmute the volume.
the black. Top right of the black bar.
Eric.
One day, while hiding in the kitchen, Charlotte Brooks overheard a life-changing secret. At the age of 17, she'd been separated from her family and taken to William Nealon's Texas plantation. There, she was made to do housework at the violent whims of her enslavers. On that fateful day, she learned that slavery had recently been abolished, but Nealon conspired to keep this a secret from those he enslaved. Hearing this, Brooks stepped out of her hiding spot, proclaimed her freedom, spread the news throughout the plantation, and ran. That night, she returned for her daughter, Tempe, and before Nealon's spiteful bullets could find them, they were gone for good. For more than 2 centuries, slavery defined what would become the United States. From its past as the 13 British colonies to its growth as an independent country. Slavery fueled its cotton industry and made it a leading economic power. 10 of the first 12 presidents enslaved people. And when U.S. chattel slavery finally ended, it was a long and uneven process. Enslaved people resisted from the beginning by escaping, breaking tools, staging rebellions, and more. During the American Revolution, Vermont and Massachusetts abolished slavery, while several states took steps towards gradual abolition. In 1808, federal law banned the import of enslaved African people, but it allowed the slave trade to continue domestically. Approximately 4 million people were enslaved in the U.S. when Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. Lincoln opposed slavery, and though he had no plans to outlaw it, his election caused panic in southern states, which began withdrawing from the Union. They vowed to uphold slavery and formed the Confederacy, triggering the start of the American Civil War. A year into the conflict, Lincoln abolished slavery in Washington, D.C., legally freeing more than 3,000 people. And 5 months later, he announced the Emancipation Proclamation. It promised freedom to the 3.5 million people enslaved in Confederate states, but it would only be fulfilled if the rebelling states didn't rejoin the Union by January 1st, 1863. And it bore no mention of the roughly 500,000 people in bondage in the border states of Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, and Missouri that hadn't seceded. When the Confederacy refused to surrender, Union soldiers began announcing emancipation, but many southern areas remained under Confederate control, making it impossible to actually implement abolition throughout the South. The war raged on for 2 more years, and on January 31st, 1865, Congress passed the 13th Amendment. It promised to end slavery throughout the U.S., except as punishment for a crime. But to go into effect, 27 states would have to ratify it first. Meanwhile, the Civil War virtually ended with the surrender of Confederate General Robert E. Lee on April 9, 1865. But although slavery was technically illegal in all southern states, it still persisted in the last bastions of the Confederacy. There, enslavers like Nealon continued to evade abolition until forced. This was also the case when Union General Gordon Granger marched his troops into Galveston, Texas on June 19th and announced that all enslaved people there were officially free and had been for more than 2 years. Still, at this point, people remained legally enslaved in the border states. It wasn't until more than 5 months later, on December 6, 1865, that the 13th Amendment was finally ratified. This formally ended chattel slavery in the U.S. Because official emancipation was a staggered process, people in different places commemorated it on different dates. Those in Galveston, Texas, began celebrating Juneteenth, a combination of June and 19th, on the very first anniversary of General Granger's announcement. Over time, smaller Juneteenth gatherings gave way to large parades, and the tradition eventually became the most widespread of emancipation celebrations. But while chattel slavery had officially ended, racial inequality, oppression, and terror had not. Celebrating emancipation was itself an act of continued resistance, and it wasn't until 2021 that Juneteenth became a federal holiday. Today, Juneteenth holds profound significance as a celebration of the demise of slavery, the righteous pursuit of true freedom for all, and a continued pledge to remember the past and dream the future. People resisted slavery in the U.S. as long as it persisted. Uncover the story of those who escaped slavery and created a secret society in the Great Dismal Swamp.
Is there any comments from the audience, from the table? Machines is open. And the measure passes 9-0. I would like to thank my colleagues for supporting me on this issue. Thank you.
The party's at your house now.
Party at my house all the time, brother.
Thank you for putting this forward.
All right. Next item, please.
K, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan repairs Diamond Park project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Mr. President?
I mean, here we are, $200,000. Do we?
What you wish?
I mean, do we know what we're spending the $200,000? Do we have that itemized? Yeah.
I had met with, previous was Todd Eppley and,
Okay.
and Ken Dugas.
Okay.
And that was a project, but again, I'm willing to defer it to the next council meeting.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Well, let's get together Wednesday and take a ride out there, and let's find the information that you have from Mr. Epley, and we'll move forward with it there.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
President, on his job.
Yeah, I'm not as bad as Reverend Evans.
No, I'm saying he's on his job. I like that. I like that.
Next item, please.
L, a resolution appointing the elected official members of the Plaquemines Parish Community Action Advisory Board and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered. Seconded by Dr. Gui. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously, 9-0. Next item, please.
M, an ordinance to provide for sale of adjudicated properties and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Kotnovich.
Offer is read.
We have a motion by Mr. Konovich, seconded by Mr. Juricic. Any comments from the audience?
A couple of months ago, y'all were talking about trying to get rid of some of the, or buy or put on auctions some property that was blighted, that haven't been taken care of for long. This what y'all talking about?
Yes.
All right. Are y'all gonna be able to put this out to the general public? So
It has to be done legally.
They'll have a website you could go to and work with them for any piece of property you want.
All right. Is there any kind of way this could be a lot of people that have property on the East Bank, they don't live here anymore, and they won't know that their property going up for sale. Is there any kind of way we could find a way to let these people know that
Yeah.
it's about to happen?
Before any property could be sold, notices have to go out to any interested party, which would include a tax debtor. So any last known address we have for those individuals, they will receive notice. There's also notices that will go out in the official journal, the Gazette. So any family member of the tax debtor or anyone else who may have an interest in the property would receive notice that way. So we can only, beyond that, there's not much else we can do, but there is an extensive amount of time in which the tax debtor can come in and pay the taxes owed, and basically it's called redemption, redeem the property, and take possession of it again.
Is that still 3 years?
It's yes, it's 3 years.
All right, thank you.
We got a bunch of properties given to us after Katrina that hopefully we get them back into the tax market.
Donald Valley. Who are we talking about contracting with?
Yeah, we're contracting it with EMP Services. It's a lawyer that myself and the president, actually several years ago, I met Ms. Johnson. President Hinckley met Ms. Johnson at the Louisiana Police Jury Association meeting. And she handles this for, I think, in excess of 10, 12 other parishes. We were highly impressed with her skills. And actually, the parish government doesn't pay her anything. Her fees come from people who are interested in the property. And so that's who we intend to go with.
Which properties are actually being offered for sale?
We currently have identified, well, first of all, we're using the data that's available on the assessor's website. We've currently identified 99 properties that we think are eligible for this program. That's just what the administration thinks. So our intention is to distribute that list to each individual council member based on where those properties are. The properties then will have to be declared surplus by the council, so it'll be up to the council as a whole to determine which properties are declared surplus that can go through this property. If for some reason council members don't want to declare something surplus, they don't have to, and that property would remain in the possession of Plaquemines Parish government.
Rennie, what properties are being covered by this?
Say that again?
What properties are being covered? I mean, we have adjudicated properties.
Only adjudicated properties. So these are only properties that went to tax sale. Basically, the property owner failed to pay their taxes. The sheriff had a tax sale, and no one bid on the property at the tax sale, and so therefore that property was adjudicated to the parish. And so after 3 years, the parish has the ability to sell those properties and get them back into commerce. And so it is only properties that have been adjudicated to the parish because no one bid on them at the tax sale. If someone bid on them at the tax sale, that individual has what's called a tax deed, and that has nothing to do with parish government.
Who pays the taxes in the interim period to up the 3-year prescription's going on?
Yeah, that's the question.
I'm sorry?
Who pays the taxes? If you go and pick a property and you buy it, you pay the taxes the 3 years. If somebody comes back, he has to pay you back your money plus interest.
And what is that? What rate is that?
Whatever prime interest rate maybe. I'm not.
Yeah, the rates are determined by statute. I can't give them all off the top of my head, but the state legislature has determined what those penalties and interest rates are, and they're in the statutes.
Is there any preferential given to Plaquemine Parish residents to buy? Like the lot next door concept?
We will have a lot next door program. The statutes allow for individuals who have maintained the property to have preference without us going to public auction. But in general, we have to go to public auction unless we are satisfied that they maintain the property for at least 1 year. What we will do is send out, and nothing prohibits us from doing this, we will send out special notices to folks on that street or adjacent to that property to let them know that it is available for adjudication so that they may hopefully maybe they would like to expand their property or, just would want to be interested in it so their kids or whatever could play in the yard. So we intend to do that. We intend to be pretty aggressive in our advertising and our notifications. That's something the parish will do.
And what fee does the contractor get out of this?
The contractor receives basically, when anyone is interested in getting an adjudicated property, they'll put down $1,000. And so what that does is that triggers the process for the contractor to start doing the title research. So she'll start doing title research, and she'll make a determination as to whether or not we actually have good title, whether or not we could sell it, whether or not there's other interested parties. And she'll also contact the assessor's office to determine the minimum value, which would either be 2/3 of the assessed value of the property or the property, whatever taxes and fees and penalties and interest are owed on the property. So it'd be the lesser of that. So she does all that preliminary work, and then basically the individual says, yeah, I'll accept that offer. They would sign a purchase agreement, and then we would go out for bid. And so if that individual wins the bid, then the $1,000 is retained. If someone else goes and bids, that individual would pay the $1,000, and that would be part of the bidding process. And actually, part of the ordinance also says that if after the research and all the notifications are done, if the tax debtor decides to come in and actually redeem the property, that $1,000 would be paid by the tax debtor as part of the redemption process.
At that point in time.
Mr. Valet, this is a comment, not a question and answer. You need more answers from Mr. Burris. I'd suggest you call him, at his office and do that. We're over a time period right now, and we're trying to move forward.
I will. I'm going to ask you this. Is this plan in writing now?
What's the question?
Mr. Chair.
Is this plan in writing?
5 minutes.
Come on.
I'm sorry?
It's been 5 minutes, and we need to move on and let everybody,
Okay.
people in the queue.
Fine. That's fine.
Reverend Edwards?
Yeah, I want to go back, and I'm really excited to hear talk about the Next Deal program. But this $1,000, can the individual go do their own title search, preliminary stuff, without paying this $1,000 and bring that to that person? Or the only way they can participate, they have to go through this person? That's my question.
The parish government is using this individual because the parish attorney's office, we don't have the wherewithal and the manpower to do that. So this is an individual who is representing Plaquemines Parish government, and this is the individual I'm entrusting to tell me whether or not this is something that we can sell and to make sure that all the laws are being followed. So the $1,000 needs to go to the individual.
No, that's not what
I'm sorry, the $1,000.
That's not what I'm saying. Can I go do that work myself and bring it to the person? Because I'm saying.
No, you can do whatever work you want and bring it to the person, but the $1,000 will be there because what happens is it's not just the initial research. It's not just the title research. It's also contacting the assessor's office to determine what the minimum values are going to be. It's also the process of sending out the notices. So if the person continues to be interested in the property, this individual then has to send out notices to all interested parties wherever they may be in the country. And there's a whole set of legal processes by which we get to the actual bidding process. And so that's what the $1,000 is for. The $1,000 isn't for the initial title work. The $1,000 is for the entire process thereafter.
And see, I understand it, but again, to me, if a person can do all that on their own,
I would think that she would still have to do title research on her own.
verify.
Yes, the $1,000, like I said, is not the. We would expect someone interested in the property to provide her with whatever information they have, but I'm relying on her to tell me that we can do this. I'm not going to take some other attorney's word for it. I'm not going to take the property owner's word for it. She is basically telling the parish attorney, this is something we can do. And once again, $1,000 isn't for the initial title work, because if the tax debtor comes in and says, I want to redeem the property right away, guess what? They come redeem the property right away. The $1,000 goes back to the person who made the initial application, and she actually doesn't get paid anything. And we've had several conversations about that where she does this initial research, the tax debtor's put on notice, and they actually come in and redeem the property. So not until there's a purchase agreement to come in and buy that property for the minimum bid amount is the $1,000 retained.
I'm still trying to understand.
If you put the $1,000 up and somebody outbid you, you get your $1,000 back.
Correct.
And there's also title fraud that we're trying to prevent.
Any more comments from the table? Machines is open. And the measure passes unanimously, 9-0. Next item, please.
In a resolution urging the Plaquemines Parish Hospital Board to provide better public access to budgets and meetings materials and to provide quarterly updates to the Plaquemines Parish Council and otherwise to provide with respect thereto, Councilmember Kotnovich.
You fill in the blank?
Yes. The blank will be for the first meeting in Belchase in June.
With that offer?
We have a motion by Mr. Konovich. Is there a second? seconded by Mr. Champagne. Is there any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the table? Mr. Jurich?
Yes, I'm looking at this and I think it's something, we need to look at, but it's also in the Gazette, posted, after the meetings. You do have all of that in the Gazette already. I know maybe some people don't get the Gazette, but, it is in there for anyone who doesn't know, and the website as well. So just letting y'all know that it is there to view already, but,
Ours is too, so we gotta be on TV, we gotta give updates and.
Yes, I spoke, thank you, Mr. Chairman, again. Did speak with the, some of the members of the hospital board, and they did express Mr. Jurich's thing. It's on the Gazette, it's in, they have public meetings, they post an agenda just like we do, and it's, of course, public meetings open to the public, website, Gazette. So information's out there for folks if they want to, if they do, are interested in the information. Thank you.
Any more comments from the table? Machines open. And the measure passes 8-4, one abstention.
Oh, an ordinance to amend the 2023 general fund operating expenditure budget and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Newsom.
We have a motion by Mr. Newsom. Do we have a second? Seconded by Dr. Gui. Is there any comments from the audience? Mr. Konovich.
This came up a couple years ago. We didn't vote for it. Right now, I talked to heavy equipment. We got 5 Bobcats. One's running. Got a lot of equipment broke down and a marsh buggy that's going to cut a ditch. I don't think we need it.
You don't think we need it?
Mr. Jurich.
Well, in my district, as it runs from all the way from north to you, we have a lot of ditches, a lot of complaints coming in from Alley Canal and some of these other drainage canals. And Mr. Helmers, if you want to stand up, I'd like to ask you a few questions. This piece of equipment would be able to clean all of that up and cut
Yes, sir. If, Ms. Kim, could you put the computer on the screen, if you would?
Because I do know, a lot of our ditch banks.
Another reason for tensions to rise.
Okay.
I do know a lot of our ditch banks really are getting in horrible looking shape, and with the mangroves growing. And at one time, a while back, quite a few years back, when they cleaned those ditch banks up, especially roadside, where you could see the ditch. I mean, it's a lot nicer, right now. The way it is, it's really, an eyesore. And with the amount of, water hyacinths and everything we have starting to clog up these drainage systems, I'm mixed about it because of spending the money, but if it's going to be utilized and utilized constantly in the right manner, I could support this.
Okay, just to give you a little background, since President Hinckley has taken over and we revamped the Coastal Zone Department to Coastal Resources and Protection, we have taken on the levee inspection, but also the levee repairs. We've done our first quarterly and semi-annual reports, which we've cleaned up 190 indeficiencies. Now, there's still plenty more to go. This equipment will help us in our drainage, help us in our cleanup, and in our efforts to keep our levees intact, cut, cleared, even during wet times. If you look at the Marshmaster, it's a very versatile machine. It comes with multiple attachments. That right there, if you look at that, that's your bush hog, which could cut in the water or on the land. So it's pretty, pretty stout. If you look at this is a real big key. This is the vegetation blade. So this is like an alley canal or the back drainage canals that fills in. This machine enters the water, goes and pushes and clears that canal out without having a scoop or with, a lot of labor and a lot of time. Now, as versatile as it gets, it also comes with a spraying rig. We're going to have that, and that'll be at the same time to where we can defoliate and use environmental friendly chemicals to spray along the ditches to where it doesn't impact any of the wildlife or anything like that. We're going to skip that one. And this right here is the last attachment that we're getting. This is a ditcher. So, our lateral ditches that we always dig, and it probably takes 4 to 5 days to dig the ditch. This machine then can straddle that ditch, drop that piece of equipment, and clear that ditch out in a couple hours. So it will be available for all that drainage. So it's very important that, this is a real pivotal piece of equipment for us that'll help us out. These funds are coming from Go Mesa, which Go Mesa money is dedicated to maintenance of the levees, restoration, coastal. It's not a drain. It's not coming out of the general fund or any other funds. It's coming directly from there. So we would appreciate your support on this.
Dr. Goy.
I know we contract out some ditches, Woodland, and then recently the one on Omega where we can't get in.
Right.
And the grass is higher than the people's yard. It's that high. What do we pay every year for contract fees to do those type of projects?
I know Woodland Highway itself is right at $19,000
Okay.
for one time.
How many times we do it a year?
I think they would be doing it 2 times a year, so you're looking at about $40,000.
Yeah, and I think Omega was going to be like 3,500.
Right.
That's going to have to be done again because we can't get in there with anything else. Okay. Is that pretty much all we contract for this type of a unit? Do you know?
Well, yes. But the one of the apparatus that I like about it too is that we can get in these, like Barrier Canal with all the lilies in there. Now we can get in there and not have to worry about backhoeing out and all, because it does have the front end apparatus right there to be able to get rid of the lilies. And look, we have the pond behind Braithwaite. It can get up in there and it can clean out that pond. I mean, there's just so many canals that we have throughout the parish that this is a problem right here. The lilies are, and the grass. Mark, down in your area, across from the Adolph Pond, there's grass that's growing. The canal is only about 6 inches deep right there because of the sand pit that flowed over it. So we can get in there and we can do that. Our boom that we have doesn't reach out far enough to where we can reach all the way across the canal, but this would help us alleviate those problems right there. So, I mean.
I tried to buy a long reach excavator, and it's a little bit more than the 250,000. But
right.
Then I tried to buy a little dredge that comes on a trailer,
right.
Launches itself, and it shoots the product over 100 yards for dredging the canals and the boat harbors.
Mm-hmm. We were in D.C. when we flew in for the Go Mesa project, when changing it, moving it was it the Breeze Act?
The Breeze Act.
Breeze Act.
Rise.
For 2 days, I had the opportunity to preach and talk about Plaquemines Parish, how we have 250 miles of levees that we have to maintain. I guarantee you, we probably have 2,000, 3,000 miles of ditches that we have to clean and maintain in Plaquemines Parish here. So,
Mr. Champagne?
Dr. Helmuth, can you also talk about something you and I discussed, is your plan to maintain this thing and make sure that it's taken care of?
Yes, sir. This will be part of our department at Coastal Resources. It'll be housed over by the airboats. We look to see if our funding source will also quantify us a cover to put on top of it to keep it out of the weather, but it'll be exclusively used by that department and well maintained. Absolutely. That's the big part.
Mr. Schultz?
Do we have somebody that is ready to operate this machine?
We do.
Okay.
Reverend Edwards?
I'm really kind of disappointed in you. Really am. Because why would you go for one instead of two? You know what I'm saying? One instead of two. I think this really be a great thing. And Mr. President, after reading my conversation, I said, I wonder if we'll take out the Littlest in Berkeley Poem. The only thing I'm hoping that when you do get this machine, you start in District 1. That's my only
One
request.
parish, we will definitely.
I know it's one parish. I'm clear. Again, let me say it again. I hope when you start, again, and the reason why I'm saying that because we have the largest land, my district has the largest land mass in any district.
Yes.
We consist of almost 5 districts in one. I'm talking about land. Well, I don't
Yes.
think nobody can really question that. I don't think that can be argued by anybody. Am I right about that?
That is correct. It
Okay, and
includes
so,
the whole
and I think,
Birdsfoot Delta.
I think people forget that, right? So I'm just saying, I'm hoping, and you have Jack now, I'm just hoping that when it do come in, that you start in District, and I hope you consider getting 2. Great machine.
We will work to build this department over this year and continue to stay in compliance with the state and the federal system on these levies. The Go Mesa revenues are continuously climbing, so we will have funding available at no cost to the residents or onto the burden of the budget here, as long as those revenues offshore come. And if the RISE Act and the BREEZE Act, which the RISE Act made it to the House and passed the House, it's on the Senate side now, that will increase our oil field revenues and our percentages from the offshore revenues and eliminating the cap.
Mr. Newsom?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Helmers, I just want to shout out to you guys for really going out and getting this and doing the research with all of this stuff. This is this sounds like this piece of equipment will be used daily, regular. So again, just a thanks to you guys to shout out and doing the research and getting all the information to us, because this is a huge, huge asset to the parish.
The engine, is diesel?
Yes, sir.
What type? You know?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Any more comments? Any more comments from the table? You have something?
My name is Barbara Nash, and I live in Jesuit Bend. And the Ali Canal borders on the rear of my property. I've talked to some of my neighbors, and they have grave concerns about the lack of maintenance of that canal. And with the hurricane season knocking on our doors, I think this should be a major priority. You know, with all due respect, bike paths are good, but this could do major damage to our properties, and I think it's of grave concern, and you should take it seriously.
Thank you, Ms. Nash, for your comments. Any more comments from the table? Seeing none. Machine is open. And the measure passes 9-0.
I'm going to have to use it.
Yeah. Hey. Hey, Habo. Oh, you know the last time what they did with that money? You better buy that one.
Uh-huh.
9P, an ordinance rescinding a 10-foot alleyway servitude for public use created by recorded surveys of square north of the Hodge Hunt Hero subdivision, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember McCarty.
We have a motion by Mrs. McCarty. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Gouy. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Machines open. And the measure passes unanimously, 9-0. Next item, please.
Q, an ordinance to amend the 2023 manpower structure and operating expenditure budget and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz.
We have a motion by Mr. Schultz. Seconded by Dr. Gouy. Is there any comments from the audience?
Yeah, I would ask your support on this, please. We're shorthanded. We probably since about 10 years ago, if you pay attention to meetings, you hear numbers like 15 to 20 people short. So we're not asking for 3 additional to builder staff. We're just trying to recoup like I said, we're struggling. There's a nationwide shortage of firefighters, if you haven't heard. So we're doing everything we can as far as recruitment videos. We will have to address one issue. Reverend Edwards, I do appreciate what you talked about as the pay for firefighters. My civil service board, my administration is working on a pay plan. Firefighters start out at $12 an hour. You see why there's nationwide shortage that we can't get people in here. So we are working on a plan that we will be submitting a proposal for that. We were left out of the Archer study.
Thank you, Mr. Butcher.
But thank
Any
you.
more
If we could
comment
get
from
some.
the audience? From the table? Machines are open? Mr. Schultz, there you go. And the measure passes unanimously, 9-0. Next item, please.
R, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan roof repair Percy Griffin Community Center project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Edwards.
I think I'm withdrawing this one.
Yes,
You want me to withdraw?
okay.
Yeah, I'm withdrawing this one.
Withdraw?
Yes. Because they found some money for that.
Okay, good. Next item, please.
10, approval of the minutes from the April 27, 2023 regular meeting.
We have a motion by Mr. Schultz, seconded by Mr. Konovich. Machines are open.
Yep.
Reverend Edwards?
I'm sorry.
And the measure passes 9-0.
11, new business. 11A, introduction of resolutions wherein suspension is being sought.
I have one.
A resolution authorizing the parish president or his designee to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate, execute, perfect, and enforce a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Southern End Community Club and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered, but I wanted to,
Tell us what they are.
so we have, I'd like to offer for suspension. Put it on the agenda. Do I have a second by Mr. Schultz? Any comments from the audience, from the table? Machines open for suspension.
We have copies of it?
Add it to the agenda.
Added to the agenda. Reverend Edwards?
I'm sorry.
Now you got to ask for the suspension.
Now entertain a motion for suspension.
A resolution authorizing the parish president or his designee to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate, execute, perfect, and enforce a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Southern End Community Club and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered. Seconded by Mr. Schultz.
Can you tell us? Never mind.
And the measure passes 9-0. You remember they was talking about the two sack?
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's what that's about.
Thanks.
Now you got to vote on the resolution.
You have
You got to
this?
vote on it.
Now you got to vote on the resolution.
Okay.
He says, I think he said, yeah, vote on it.
A resolution.
Go ahead.
A resolution authorizing the parish president or his designee to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate, execute, perfect, and enforce a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Southern End Community Club and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
There any, I so offered.
Second.
Seconded by, we have a unanimous second.
Would you like me to read the items that you're requesting?
Listen, I just want to add these two items too, they asked me. These are the items that they are requesting.
A generator and a light plant. Use of Diamond Playground on May 15, 2023. Use of electrical, water, sewage, and trash collection, including 20 trash cans, 2 dumpsters, and 1 garbage truck for the festival grounds and the facility. Use of 2 20 by 20 tents, and use of 40 tables and 200 chairs.
Go ahead.
We need to scratch the tables and chairs.
Okay. We'll delete-
Everything else is doable, but the tables and chairs are just becoming a logistical nightmare.
Okay, we'll delete the tables and chairs.
Bring your own chair.
Okay.
Ms. DeLaFrance, whoever's going to sign the CEA, they can come to my office. I don't, I would ask them to come to my office and bring the corporate documents so that I can have the necessary information to fill out the CEA.
Thank you. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Machines are open. And the measure passes 9-0. Next item, please.
B, District 9 update, Councilmember Kotnovich.
Not one. I'm deferring one. I have a question, though, for the reporter from the Gazette. If you can come up. I have a question for you. I read in the Gazette just came out about the Bureau's Boat Harbor dredging and cleaning.
Yes.
It's got a quote from me. You see it. It's always good to see priorities and placed and resources allocated to the southern end of the parish. Then it says that serving on both council and port allows me to ensure that the entities can work hard, hand in hand, together to accomplish goals that are important for the people. Who quoted this?
Did I interview that for you?
Nobody called me about it because I would have never said this. Because
I don't remember ever writing those words. Does that have my byline on it?
I don't know whose it is, but it's in y'all paper and it's quoting me.
Whose name is under?
Doesn't have one.
I don't believe I wrote that.
But
I
I'll
will
send a letter to the editor.
Okay, yeah, I'll ask.
But I also brought up to you and Mr. Champagne that I'm still getting complaints that people are hitting bottom, drawing 3 feet of water. So,
Listen, could we move, and I'm sorry, could we move to item, you finished?
yes, sir, I'm finished.
Could we move to item E, please? I'm sorry, for the young lady with the LSU ad come. Oh, yes.
LSU Ag Center update, Councilmember LaFrance.
I'm sorry, if y'all would have let us know, we could have brought you up early.
That's all right. We was enjoying it.
Oh, okay.
My name is Wayne Burgess. I haven't met all the new council members yet, but I've been working in Plaquemines Parish with 4-H for going on 30 years. And we just want to give you all a short update today. I do want to come around and visit you guys. One of the reasons that we are doing this, because I heard this a few times in the discussion, was we're one of those groups that you guys help fund. Okay, we want you guys to understand what we're doing. So Anna's our A&R agent, which is agriculture. She took Alan Vaughn's place, if you remember Alan. I still work with 4-H, and I have a fisheries agent, Dominique. Next month, I'll be here with 4-H, and then the month after that, Dominique will be here with Sea Grant, just so you guys have a better idea what we do.
Okay. Thanks for having me. I was here about a year ago when I took Alan Vaughn's old position. I'm Anna Timmerman. I'm working on my master's degree at LSU in citrus, so I'm in the right place down here. I do have a couple of short slides, if y'all could put them up on the screen for me. So primarily what I deal with in addition to farmers is consumer horticulture. I'm writing for the Gazette down here, and that's really boosted my calls from Plaquemines Parish. I'm dealing with about 100 homeowners a week, answering everything from identify this bug to how do I grow this crop. So a little bit over 300 total calls, texts, questions a week. And then I do make house calls and farm visits as well. Last year, we did start a Master Gardener program in the parish for the very first time in several years, and we trained 15 graduates in August. There are 38 active Master Gardeners split between Plaquemines and St. Bernard, and we have 21 students signed up for this summer. What that program does is it basically trains residents and gardeners in the Horticulture 101 curriculum that we would teach at LSU, so we're bringing that out into the communities. Those people do provide volunteer service within our communities at school and community gardens. And last year, our in-kind value was just above $21,000. And I'm also completing a couple of research projects. Over in Violet, I have a 1/4-acre citrus orchard, and I'm hopefully defending a thesis in about a month about Satsuma production and doing some disease control. If you've taken a ride down the highway here, you know that citrus is in trouble. A lot of the trees are dying. They're diseased. That's not just us, it's a global issue. And I'm working with a team out of University of Florida to look at some solutions for these guys. But yeah, that's all I've got.
You can visit my yard.
I have a question.
Send me a text or an email, and I will.
I have
Yeah.
a question. I'm having a problem with white fly or aphis bug
Yep.
underneath the pecan leaves.
Yeah, on the underside.
And then when it sucks the juice out the leaf, it secretes and it make it
Sticky.
shiny, shiny, shiny.
Yep.
Then it make it look black like mildew or
Yep.
suck. What's the poison for it?
If you go to any garden center, they're going to have something called Bio-Advanced Tree and Shrub.
I use that.
How much
mix
you
it up,
putting in?
And you pour it
And
at
you
the
drench
base of the tree.
And that's not knocking them out? Use
That ain't
twice as much.
Huh?
You might have to go up on your dose. If you shoot me an email, I could maybe get you a stronger product too, because it's going to depend on how big or wide that tree is, how much you're going to have to use. You might need 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know it's kind of expensive now.
It is. Everything's gone up in price. That's part of my research too, is trying to manage things a little more holistically, because the chemical price, because of the war in Ukraine, has gone up for a lot of agricultural products.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Okay, Dr. Goy?
When I spoke to you earlier about 3 o'clock and I said, glad to see you, we'll try to get to you before 7 o'clock, I was really joking.
It's all good.
I wasn't serious.
It's still before 7.
It is. Yep. But I'm always happy to answer horticulture and agriculture questions from the parish.
Yeah, I'm really concerned. So you went to Phineas High School with this program?
No, sir. I don't work with youth. That's going to be Wayne's 4-H program. I work primarily with adults.
For people like Mr. LaFrance who don't have a green thumb.
Yes. Yep. Yep. I'm here to help.
I'm going to talk to him because we've been doing gardening, raised bed gardening for almost 20 years now. And
Yeah.
we work with the Woodland group, Gerald Lynn, been working with the Woodland for 10 years, and they came over and planted trees. So that's why I was really interested in it, because after
Yeah.
we plant trees to go into wetlands and all those kind of group with the group from the Miro Foundation.
Yes, I work, Euro Foundation pays half my position, and that's where my research is housed at their farm facility. So I'm actually building an irrigation system for the cypress trees.
I'll get together with gentlemen.
Okay, yeah. Any other questions?
Any more questions?
Thanks so much for having me.
Before you leave, I'd like to get your card.
Oh,
Yes,
you're
yep.
free advice.
And my email and my phone number are on the last slide. I'm also in the Plaquemines Gazette every week, and it has my contact info in there.
Did you write that about Councilman?
I did not, I'm sorry. If you have a gardening-related quote, though, I could get it in there.
I can handle my gardening.
Okay,
I got them planted.
all right, thank you so much.
And other people on the council. Let me
Item C?
No, I'm really good with that. Mr. DeMark and I have had some serious conversation, but again, these are one of the things I was commenting about. The work that we're doing to community center recreation program is going good. I talked to Bill about Highway 39. The folks at Electric Coal say,
I passed the contact information for the gentleman, his name
yeah.
escapes me right now.
So they're prepared to put the machine out there and their employee. We just got to bring the trucks and they will move all the dirt on Highway 30. But my concern is where we're sending the dirt.
Right now, we're sending it down to the marina.
But see, that's a problem because the marina is already messed up. They don't need, unless they're going,
There's a plan.
okay.
There's a plan.
Yeah, because people came to me saying, do you know they're bringing all that dirt? We already piled up. They're going to let it pile up and green grass grow on it.
Well, no, there's a plan for the marina there. So, I mean, I can tell you now, or we can go down, and I'd much rather go and just explain to you and show you what we're talking about
Let
doing.
me ask you another question because I talked to Bill. At the Reverend Griffith Community Center, right where the swimming pool, and Mr. Brock said there's a dish that come all the way to the pool. I'm wondering whether that could be closed off and come even with the other part, there got to be a good place to put dirt because it serves no purpose and it's so close to the swimming pool. So I was wondering, whether dirt can go there.
All right, well, let's take a look at that and see, make sure that there's not a reason for that ditch. And
I saw a drainage pipe there, so I was concerned about that, but I wondered whether it can move, but I didn't want to create a
I
project.
mean, if it's just a swell that's there serving no purpose, there should be no reason why we can't cover it up. But if there's a reason, then we don't want to. So
That's it, Mr. Chair.
C, District 1 update, D, District 8 update, Councilmember Jurisic. 1, District about the shipyard slip in Empire. 2, update about the lights at the Empire Playground.
We've discussed all of that already, and we making progress on that. I want to thank y'all, so just withdraw it. Yes, withdraw it.
Motion?
I failed to mention a couple of things. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, Governor Edwards is going to be at the Spanish Pass with a state agency, CPRA. There's a ribbon cutting ceremony tomorrow for the Spanish Pass. It's at 10 o'clock, so I would encourage you, if you can get away, it'd be great to have us. I'm going to be in attendance, so it'd be great to have us all there. And also, the resolution that we just passed there, Saturday is that 2-sack challenge at the Diamond Park. It'd be nice to see us all down there at that as well there. So, thank you.
Motion to adjourn. We have a motion by Chris Schultz, seconded by Dr. Gui. Machine is open. And it passes 9-0. We'll have adjournment at 6:54 p.m.